how is it going? My name's Amanda, gold, like the color, and you probably already knew that. You're probably already watching these because maybe you got some noisy neighbors and you feel really stressed out about it. And you know that I record a lot of videos about that and other things that can help you feel more sane and happy in your life. And so maybe you're already here looking for some more solution to the noisy neighbor situation. If so, you're in the right place. If you're new, I'm Amanda Gold. I'm in recovery from drugs and alcohol. I'm an artist. I'm a life coach. And I talk about a lot of stuff, but lately and on Saturdays until the stay-at-home stuff is over and we've moved through the COVID-19 situation, I've decided to keep showing up with tips and tricks for how to deal with your thoughts around noisy neighbors. I often call these how to deal with noisy neighbors, but there's a secret that actually it's not the noisy neighbors that are causing your stress, it's your thinking about it. But this video, I wanted to share some thoughts around changing what you can. And so there are situations where I think that it's totally appropriate and maybe even necessary or just, in your best interest to try talking to them. So I just wanted to share some thoughts about that, some things that I've learned about how to do it successfully and effectively. And I will share some times when it did not go great at all. So you're learning from someone who's tried it all kinds of ways, who has suffered mightily in this type of situation, and who's hopefully, it's always a work in progress, but coming through on the other side with some stuff that can help you avoid some of my mistakes or get through them if you're in the same deal. So I'm thinking now about times that did not work. This is how I recommend the way not to do it, what not to do. We'll start there. Excuse me, I have like a fucking stray hair flying around. I'm not picking my nose, not on camera anyways. Okay, sorry. I have all this adrenaline. So I've done a lot of these videos, I think over 100 at last count. And it's still like I'll hover over the record button and it still feels like that moment of when you're about to jump off a high place into the water, which I think is really fun. But it's scary. Like even though I've done it, even though I know I'm going to be okay, and even though I could record this video and not even post it, like I don't know what the fear is. It's so funny, but it's still there. And so then when I'm actually start recording, I'm just all like, hey, we're doing it. Okay, I'm flying through the air. Let's go. Anyways, what not to do when you've decided you want to talk to your noisy neighbors. So mistakes I've made have been approaching them in my rage. So when the noisy neighbor situation comes up, when the music starts, the way that it's impacting me, my thinking around it, I get really fucking riled really fast. There's pain points here. You might feel like they woke you up from your sleep. You're trying to do something, maybe you're trying to work at home, or you're trying to make art, or you're meditating, or you're trying to do something. You just want it to be quiet. You just want the sounds that you hear to be your fucking sounds, and it feels intrusive and violating when all of a sudden the neighbors start up. And all the thoughts around that cause so much suffering. So when this happens, I think it's a mistake to go talk to them when you're all activated. So I really recommend cooling that shit down first. If I believe there are times when it's totally within your right and range of, I don't know what the word is. You're in your rights to talk to them, to ask them to be quieter, to tell them that the way they're behaving is unacceptable. I feel like this is a whole other video, but just real quickly, like it's not always about just like letting people do whatever the heck they want. I think ultimately it actually is about that. Like that's where the real freedom is to understand and allow that people are going to behave the way they're going to behave. And you're better off figuring out a way to be at peace with that no matter what. But I think sometimes it can be helpful to go talk to them. And I don't recommend doing it when you're all pissed off, when you just woke up and it's midnight and you want to say some shit. And there's a couple reasons for that. So one, what I approach a neighbor as, what I approach someone, if I'm coming at them just like activated and pissed off, they're going to meet me there. Like they're going to be activated and pissed off too, or they're going to be on the defensive. A lot of times they might be drunk. Like if I get woken up at 2 a.m. by some party, it's really unlikely that it's a bunch of sober people playing board games. Although it could be. We like to party too, and we get fucking loud. But every time that I've had the situation, the people that were making the noise at 2, 3 a.m. were intoxicated. So I don't recommend being the sober person going to try to talk to them in the middle of the night. Even if they were cool about it, they might not remember it. I wouldn't have when I was that drunk party animal. So If it's something where it happened in the middle of the night, or you just find yourself like in the fight or flight mode, or you're really furious, I really recommend like waiting till the morning and dealing with your emotions first so that you're back in a more calm, rational state. Um, the other reason for this is so that you don't fly off the handle. So not too long ago, I got so fucking mad at a neighbor who woke me up in the middle of the night, which is big mistake number one. Number two, this had been going on for a while, so I was already like a woman on the edge trying to deal with this shit. And I just flew out of bed. It was wild. Like it was almost out of my control. Like I was so furious. It was like an out of body experience almost. There was this tiny rational part that was like, don't do this. And I was like, it's too late. And I threw on clothes and I stormed down. I went outside and into the backyard and I almost went in this dude's fucking house. Like totally inappropriate. I bang on the door. It was bananas. And I was just in this dude's face. Like, and it wasn't great. And he was actually kind of chill about it. He was like, you're being really rude right now. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I thought he was the rude one, right? Like, I was just completely too elevated to be trying to have a successful conversation, right? Like, on some level, it did feel like, yeah, get him, like I'm telling him how I feel and it's helping. And he did turn the music off. But at what cost, right? Like, I woke up the next morning feeling pretty shitty about myself. Because again, even if I was right, I wasn't right. Like, and again, this is a whole other series of videos, and it's a lot of the work I'm in right now myself, understanding that causing harm is still causing harm, and it's still my issue or my problem, even if I think the other person deserves it or brought it on themselves. Like, that's all actually bullshit. So anyways, I ended up having to make an amends for that. I went and talked to him in the morning and apologized, and we ended up having a good conversation, and we kind of worked it out, and things have been a little quieter since then, but there's better ways to do that kind of shit, which I will share with you. So as far as cooling yourself down, though, before you go talk to someone, I have lots of tools and tips and tricks for that. So, let me tell you, I am available to work with one-on-one now as a coach. So if you want to go deeper, if you want to learn these skills, if you want to work with me individually, you can, and just shoot me an email. That's how I'm dealing with this right now, is just email me. It's amandagoldmakesart@gmail.com, and we can talk more about that. Free consultation call, all that good stuff. Anyways, I also have lots of stuff in my past videos about how to regulate emotion and how to cool out and how to feel your feelings and things like that. So just get to a place where you're calmer. Pop in the comments or email if you have specific questions about that. I love talking about this stuff and helping people with it. Okay, so that's my first suggestion. And then when you've decided that you actually do want to talk to them, I would be careful about when you decide you want to ask someone to change, because I already think that's kind of dicey territory. Like I've said before, people don't really change because we want them to. They might consider our requests, and you can definitely turn, I heard one psychotherapist that I like put it as turn your anger into an ask. So if you can pinpoint like what's really driving you crazy, is it about, can you ask them for a specific thing? So, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Put a pin in that. How to ask them for what you want, how to figure out what you're actually asking them for, and how to talk to them when you do this. But first decide if it really is something that is a behavior that you want to try to change. So I have gotten just as riled up over just hearing my neighbors as I have had over them waking me up with a really loud, inappropriate party. So what I mean by that is a lot of the shit that I get annoyed with is just more has to do with the house that I live in and less to do with my neighbors doing anything wrong. Like, they can be having a conversation with someone and I can hear it. And they have every right to talk on the phone. I don't want to be that kind of person that goes and knocks on the door and be like, hey, I can hear you talking. Please stop talking so much or so loud or at all. Please stop moving. Please stop making footsteps. Please stop living your life in your apartment. Like, that's ridiculous. My emotions and my ego sometimes get to that place where I'm like, everyone should shut up because my needs are more important. That's ego shit, right? I'm not really in my right mind going to go ask someone to be quieter during the day when it's just apartment living, right? There's some things that I have to understand, like this is the way it is with this thing, and I'm going to adjust myself to this situation. Okay, but back to when you've decided, like, all right, I can deal with these certain things, but I can't deal with the waking up in the middle of the night because of drunken parties. All right, so how do you handle that? Get really clear on your ask. So I'm assuming you've regulated your emotions, and this can be part of that. So like in regulating your emotions and in getting rid of your anger and frustration, dump it all out on paper. Take your pen and pencils and papers and markers and all, whatever the way you write, how you write, write it all out. I recommend writing because when I type shit, I feel like it goes faster, but I'm also kind of editing myself as I go. And when I write, I feel like moving and the pressure I can use and even the materials I use actually helps sublimate the emotion more. Get all your thoughts out on the page. Get out, be as petty as you need to be as furious as you need to be, get it all out. And then read it over and then pick out what is really the issue here. It's totally reasonable to ask someone to not keep their music so loud after 10 o'clock. Or, if you guys are sharing a house like we are, like it's a house that's been broken into a few units, it wouldn't be out of bounds to remind them of the lease agreement. Like some places, my lease says no loud parties at any time, anywhere, any whatever. And I don't even like try to enforce that so much, but I have had conversations with the people who live in that house of like, hey, the walls are super thin. We can really hear each other more than usual in this place. I work really early in the mornings or whatever. You don't even have to explain why you're asking, I don't think, but it can help. You can assess the situation. If the people seem friendly and receptive, you might say, yeah, I don't mean to like harsh your mellow or whatever, but I wake up super early. Would you mind keeping it down? Again, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry. I'm talking right now about getting really clear on what you want to ask them. I really recommend that. I don't recommend just showing up and being like, this sucks. Like, get all the like emotional, like, I hate this, it sucks shit out on your own, and then look through that to come up with what you think a reasonable request might be. It's going to help them. It's going to help you to just have a specific thing to ask for. Hey, no parties on the weekdays, please. Hey, keep the music down at this time. I had one neighbor and I went and talked to him, and he actually, I didn't know, I was just saying like, it's so loud, I can hear you really clearly, it's vibrating the picture frames on my wall, like how can we work this out? And he had this idea of not using his subwoofer when I was home, which was really cool because it's bassy as fuck. And I was like, yeah, I don't think you should have one of those in an apartment, but whatever. So he agreed to not turn that on at night, and that was a step in the right direction. I've gone to neighbors and been specifically like, hey, can you smoke in the backyard instead of the front yard because it's coming right in the vent by my window. So get clear on your ask. And I don't think you owe anyone an explanation. I don't think you have to try to justify why you're asking for a thing. But if you think it might help, if you've kind of gotten a feel for the person and you think they might be more sympathetic to your situation or whatever, it might help. If it adds some humanity, if it adds some, we're all in this togetherness to it, go for it. And then as far as talking to them, I got some really good advice where instead of like knocking on their door and being like, you're doing this and I hate it, please stop. My friend she taught me how to lead with, you probably didn't know this, but. So giving them the benefit of the doubt and assuming that maybe they didn't know that the walls were hella thin and that your bedroom was on the other side of their stereo, or they didn't know that it was bothering you. I think there are, like, you might be fuming in your head and thinking, like, how could anyone think this is acceptable? But truly, they might not know that it's even bothering you. Everyone operates from their own frame of reality, and the people who like to listen to loud music and party might really genuinely think everyone's with it, The neighbors I have right now that like to party, there's a lot of people that live kind of around us that are with it. Like they've kind of brought into the fold and invite to the parties, and they think they're super nice and inclusive. And oh, someone's flying a kite. I was like, what's all that trash blowing around out the window? And someone's flying a kite. That's really sweet. Okay. Where was I? Sorry. Glitter and kites in the window. So giving people the benefit of the doubt and not assuming that they understand that they're pissing you off and committing the crime of the century, right? So lead with, you probably didn't know this, but my room is right on the other side of this and the walls are really thin and I can hear your music and it's keeping me up at night, okay? Or you probably didn't know, whatever it is, and then hit them with your ask. So I'm just wondering, would you mind keeping it down after a certain time? Or would you mind turning it down a little bit when we're both at home? I've worked out arrangements with some neighbors where we have each other's cell phones, and I just let him know, like, hey, late night or, study night tonight, I'm home, please turn it down, and he'll just do it. Or and then I'll be the courteous neighbor too. Like, hey, I'm leaving for the weekend. Party your fucking hearts out. So just sometimes when you approach it that way, you leave the door open to be pleasantly surprised. And I think it's not just Pollyanna or wishful thinking to give people the benefit of the doubt. I think actually people are better than we think they are, especially when we're just being triggered and have been in a bad mood about things. It's good to lead with an opportunity for the person that's bothering you to actually have a chance to redeem themselves, or to be like, oh, I'm sorry, I had no idea, I'll totally keep it down, or whatever. As far as what to do if they're a dick, that's a different video. That's again why it's important to approach them in a place where you already feel kind of composed and regulated. Because if they come at you aggressively or in a hostile manner, you don't want to be elevated already too, because then it's just going to devolve into a fight or something like that. Or you're going to hate each other more, and it's just going to cause more tension. So if you are approaching them in a calm, respectful manner, and they're belligerent or they're drunk or they're hostile or whatever, just say, the whole thing in approaching this too is to not have an expectation of how they're going to be. I think you can have, the saying is have high hopes, low expectations. So if you're expecting them to just be like, oh my gosh, yes, we're best friends, I'm so sorry, let me turn down the music and make everything the way you want, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. So be prepared for them to come at, to be any kind of way that they're going to be. And if they are coming at you in a disrespectful or hostile way, just breathe, step back, say, all right, I did my best, I tried, never mind, and then walk away. Because you don't need that extra stress of someone, you definitely don't take anyone's abuse, right? And then from there, it's something that you might choose to handle further with your landlord, or even in some situations with police, although I could make other videos about how that can be problematic too. But then from there, you just figure out what's next for you, right? So we're just focusing on, if you've decided talking to the neighbors is the next best step for you, those are some ideas for how to do it, and hopefully it works. And if not, don't worry, there's other ways to handle it, and definitely you can be happy and serene no matter what, I promise. If you want to know more about all that, if you want to work with me individually, again, shoot me an email. I'd love to hear from you. Even if you don't want to work with me, you can send me emails. amandagoldmakesart@gmail.com. I hope everything is wonderful for you. Thank you for being here. I will be back on Tuesday with Try It Tuesday. How's it going, by the way? If you haven't watched that video, go check it out and try it. All right, talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.